I'll take the inheritance and the house. The old fart is homeless. While on an overseas assignment, hearing about my father's sudden death and hurried back home, only to be greeted with scornful laughter by my wife and daughter, who said so disdainfully. Furthermore, the inheritance from my father, who passed away suddenly, was unilaterally distributed under the control of my wife and daughter, along with my mother, who excessively doted on them. Got it. I had a lot to say, but since my mother, the chief mourner, had decided this was my father's will, there was nothing more I could do. After all, I had not been able to return from my overseas posting for the past several years. During that time, my mother, wife, and daughter were the ones taking care of my father. Although it seemed to be unfair, I also felt sorry, so I agreed to the distribution of the inheritance as dictated by my wife, daughter, and mother. Then, with a heavy heart, I returned to my overseas posting and headed to a specific place. Unbelievably, what my father had left for me in his will was located at my overseas posting. Wow! When I went to that place, I made an astonishing discovery. Moreover, this discovery led to an event that could only be described as a godsend. My name is Keith Anderson, and I'm 50 years old. Apart from being a well-paid office worker in a major entertainment conglomerate, I'm just an ordinary guy in my mid-50s. Currently, I'm living abroad due to my overseas assignment in America, busying myself with the business of buying and selling, primarily immersed in a foreign lifestyle. My work involves dealing with merchandise such as figures and cards modeled after characters from late-night anime, which has recently become popular among young people, as well as video games and other visual media. I assess the types of anime and media mix that appeal to stores and audiences in America and propose sales deals. Therefore, if I don't meet the demands of these overseas fans, I won't be able to earn an income, and more importantly, I won't have food for today or tomorrow. I'd like to say that I'm working hard and overseas for my family back in the United States, but the reality is a bit more complicated. Back in my family home in the United States live two people, Elaine and Ashley. Elaine is my wife, 5 years younger than me, and Ashley is our daughter, now in her 3rd year of high school. Elaine is stunningly beautiful, fit to be an actress in a TV drama, and Ashley, inheriting her mother's beauty, is popular among both boys and girls at her school, never lacking company. I'd love to say I'm proud to have such a beautiful wife and daughter, but sadly, I can't say that because they've turned out differently than I expected. This was evidenced by what happened tonight when I made a video call to my home in the America. What do you want? I have an assignment that needs to be finished by tomorrow. If you have something to say, make it quick. Ashley's face on the video call looked as if she was looking at a venomous insect, clearly showing her disdain. Ashley, it's my folly for not realizing that you were busy, but isn't that a bit harsh? Your father is calling because he's worried about you. Huh? Worried? That's just unnecessary. Don't start playing a concerned father now when it's convenient for you. Ashley unhesitatingly hurled heartless words at me. I felt a pang in my heart at my daughter's disrespectful attitude, but this wasn't the first or second time it had happened. So you're saying even me checking if you're eating properly or going to school is annoying to you? Yeah, it's annoying. I'm 18 now, and next year I'll be a college student at a prestigious university. I'm not a kid who needs to be fussed over and worried about to that extent. Hey, what do you mean by addressing your parent as you? And I don't remember being so persistent with emails or calls to you. I couldn't help but raise my voice in response to such remarks. But Ashley just twisted her face in even more annoyance and spat out at me. Heck, fine, whatever. Creepy. Anyway, I'm busy right now. I don't have time for you, and I don't want you stealing my precious time. Hey, Ashley, what's with that way of speaking? What I really want is for you to stop. You should just continue being a father, rotten or not, and do your job. As for me, I'll live my life the way I want and enjoy my day. With that, Ashley clearly didn't want to deal with me anymore and hung up the video call. As for me, all I could do was gaze blankly at the screen of the video call, which had now gone dark. And today, once again, I found myself asking the same questions I had forgotten so many times. How did it come to this? When and where did Ashley change like this? What troubled me even more wasn't just about Ashley. Elaine, too, had started to show the same kind of dismissive attitude towards me, just like Ashley. As proof of this, after my conversation with Ashley, I made a video call to her. Elaine, do you know something? Why has Ashley been treating me so coldly lately? I asked Elaine over the video call, but she looked at me as if I were a venomous insect, just like Ashley had, and retorted sharply. I don't know. After all, she's 18 this year and at an age where she wants to decide her own way of living. Maybe she's upset because you, Keith, keep intruding too much. Hold on a second. When have I ever been intrusive with Ashley? I only call or email once a week to ask if she's having any trouble at school, if she's eating properly, and about her general well-being. That's it. But Ashley sees me as an enemy, treating me with the disdain and harsh words you just heard. That's why I'm saying, I don't know anything about it, and I can't give you an answer. Instead of wasting time on such fruitless things, maybe you, Keith, should focus on your work. Elaine seemed like she didn't want to be involved in this issue at all, or rather, she appeared reluctant to even talk to or see me. That's when I decided to confront her with a question that had been bothering me for a while. Hey, not just now, but even before I left for this overseas assignment. Weren't these kinds of issues becoming more frequent? What do you mean by this kind of thing? I'm talking about you and Ashley treating me like this. And about the two of you going out without telling me. When was the last time I went out with you guys before I left for my overseas assignment? It's been quite a while, right? When I asked, Elaine played dumb in an exaggerated way. What are you talking about all of a sudden? We used to see each other every day at home before you went on your overseas assignment. Even so, you used to treat me like you did just now, hardly ever having a proper conversation. My colleagues' families seem to get along much better. Every family has its own way of doing things. Ashley is going to be a college student next year at a university she admires. It's a tough period for her, including her determination, and I'm busy taking care of her in your fill. I understand that it's lonely because of the overseas assignment, but you should think more about giving us space. Elaine unilaterally said that, and then hung up the video call. It seems Elaine is also avoiding and disliking me. There must be some reason, but it's highly unlikely that I'll hear it from either of them. What's also troubling me during this overseas assignment is the matter of my fill. As Elaine mentioned, 6 months ago, my father struck down by cancer and has been living a bedridden life at our family home. The care is mostly provided by my mother and my brother, Kevin's family, who live with them. As an aside, our family home has always been one of disparity. Kevin, being more attractive and better in both academics and sports than me, was adored by our mother. As a result, not only birthday presents and desired items, but even daily meals were special for Kevin, like birthday feasts, while mine were just ordinary. Again, Kevin gets a feast-like meal. What grudge do you have against me? Brother, don't be upset. I'll share half of mine with you. Mom, haven't I told you to stop doing this? Kevin and my father repeatedly tried to stop this preferential treatment stemming from our mother's doting, but she ignored their pleas and continued her favoritism. Unable to bear it anymore, my father placed me under the care of my reasonable grandparents, allowing me to finally live a satisfying life. Even during this time, Kevin kept in touch, worried about me, secretly meeting me away from our mother's eyes, and we have maintained this connection to this day. I found out about my father's cancer through Kevin, and immediately tried to return to our family home with him, but we were turned away at the door by our mother. My brother, Kevin, doted on by our mother, his beautiful wife whom he married, and their 2 adorable children, led a happy life at our family home. My mother probably thought that including me would disrupt this happiness. I tried repeatedly to persuade our mother with Kevin, but she remained adamant, refusing to let me step foot in the house again since I had left, despite our father's arrangements. As I was about to embark on an overseas assignment, I reluctantly had to entrust the care of our father to Kevin. It's okay. I'll take care of Dad and Mom. So, brother, focus on what you need to do and take care of yourself, okay? Got it? I'm sorry, Kevin. The day after entrusting everything to Kevin, I set off abroad. From overseas, I kept in touch with Kevin to check on our father's condition and secretly sent encouraging words and gifts to support him in my own way. But despite my efforts, a devastating event occurred. Brother, Dad. He's gone to a faraway place. What, really? One day, the news was brought to me over a video call from my brother, Kevin. My father had finally succumbed to his illness and passed away. I immediately called my company, explained the situation, got permission for a temporary return home, and quickly boarded a plane back to America. Meeting Kevin at the airport, we got into his car and headed for our family home, which I hadn't seen in years. Kevin, how was Dad in his last moments? Well, it seemed like he passed away peacefully, as if he was just sleeping. Kevin answered my first question in the car, looking down. Knowing that my father had passed away without suffering brought me some comfort. And when Kevin told me that our father had been worried about me until the end, I pondered my regret for not being there in his final moments all the way until we arrived at our family home. Upon arrival, my mother looked at me disapprovingly, but thanks to Kevin's persistent persuasion, I was able to cross the threshold of my home for the first time in years and attend a funeral. However, at the funeral I attended, I was faced with a shocking revelation. A will. Wait a minute, what does that mean? Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about this either. Why did you and Mom prepare something like that right after Dad fell? During the funeral, both Kevin and I were baffled and raised our voices after hearing this from Elaine. Apparently, Elaine and our mother had unilaterally prepared a will about 10 days before our father passed away. Confronted by both me and Kevin, Elaine replied with a nonchalant face, "Well, it's necessary to prepare it in advance to avoid complications later, right? Your Phil was a wealthy man after all. It would be troublesome to have disputes over the inheritance with Keith and Kevin. That's why I thought everything would be smoother with a will." That's true, but why would you prepare a will behind our backs, without telling me or Kevin? Such unilateral actions shouldn't be acceptable, even by you or Mom. Ignoring our further objections, Ashley, standing next to Elaine, smugly said, "So, about the inheritance division decided by Grandma. The money and the family home are to be divided equally between me, Mom, Grandma, and Uncle Kevin. Dad gets the rundown villa overseas. What? The house will be inherited by Mill as Phil's wife, but it seems there will be inheritance tax. And since it's such a large and fine house, the amount will be substantial. We're including that in the division, so we four will split the money equally." What did you say? As Kevin and I widened our eyes in shock, Elaine and Ashley smugly threw these words at us. "Thence means, we're taking the inheritance and the house. And as for old fart, he's left without a house. Keep up the hard work and the remittances from overseas." Their malicious laughter and words nearly rendered Kevin and me speechless. Wait a minute. Are you saying Dad really left such a will? Even if it's true, such an unreasonable will shouldn't exist. Kevin, please be quiet. It was Mill and I who took care of Phil. Besides, Ashley is going to be a college student next year, and that costs money. And Keith, you're a high-earning employee at a major trading company. You can save as much as you want if you feel like it, so you don't need the money, right? Why does it come to this? It's true that I'm not struggling financially, but it's impossible that Dad would leave a will that blatantly excludes only me. Besides, how much wealth did Dad leave? As I persisted, Elaine showed an exasperated face and started to dismiss me. The rundown villa overseas is in your name, Keith, so you don't have to worry about inheritance tax. Feel free to sell it or demolish it, do whatever you like. Yeah, please feel free. From the malicious laughter and words of Elaine and Ashley, I felt like I was no longer having a conversation with human beings, and I was made to realize that I no longer regarded these two as my wife and daughter. All right, I'll settle for this inheritance. Brother. Kevin looked shocked and tried to stop me, but I shook my head sideways, indicating that it was okay. I had a lot to say, but since my mother, the chief mourner, had decided this was the will, there was nothing more I could do. After all, I hadn't been able to return from my overseas posting for several years. During that time, my father was cared for by my mother, and then by my wife and daughter. Although it felt unfair, I also felt guilty, so I agreed to the distribution of the inheritance as dictated by my wife, daughter, and mother. Then, filled with disappointment, I returned to my overseas posting. At the same time, I took all my belongings from my family home and moved them to an apartment near my workplace abroad. I felt sorry for leaving everything to Kevin, but I couldn't stay with a family so devoid of compassion. For now, I thought about what to do about the divorce later and headed to the villa mentioned in the will. My father was a wealthy man, owning villas not only in America but also abroad. The family home that Elaine, Ashley, and my mother were so keen on inheriting was luxurious, both inside and out, and had facilities for palliative care, making it appear like a mansion. I was aware of all this, but the villa mentioned in the will was located in a surprisingly remarkable place. This is unbelievable. Who would have thought there'd be a villa here? By some twist of fate, the villa was located at my overseas posting. Surprised, I headed straight to the villa upon arriving at my posting location. Upon arriving at the villa, it was indeed as dilapidated as Elaine had laughingly described. It was clear that it hadn't been used for years, perhaps even for decades. This only emphasized the malice Elaine, Ashley, and my mother must have had in relegating it to me. However, my feelings of being subjected to their malice quickly dissipated when I found a letter in the villa's mailbox. The person who finds this letter and the accompanying keys shall inherit whatever is inside this villa as part of my estate. The letter, written in my father's own handwriting, was accompanied by 2 keys inside the mailbox. One of the keys appeared to be for the villa's front door, and it opened the lock. Once inside the villa, I explored a bit and found a descending staircase leading to what seemed to be a basement door. Using the second key, I opened the door and was met with an even more astonishing sight. What is this? The basement held a collection of old paintings, books, sculptures, and ceramics, items that truly deserved to be called antique art. While I had no expertise in antique art, it was clear at first glance that these items were all valuable. After all, my father had hidden them in this decaying villa, secured with double locks, and left a letter effectively bequeathing everything to whoever found them. There could be no doubt about their worth. I immediately called Kevin to share the discovery. What? All that in the basement of Dad's villa? Yes. And you know someone who deals in art, right? I'd appreciate it if you could contact them and bring them here. Got it. It might take some time to make arrangements, but I'll come there with him. I also have something I want to talk to you about. Leaving that intriguing comment, Kevin hung up. 3 days later, he arrived not only with his art dealer friend, but also brought his family with him. Surprised to see Kevin's family at the airport along with his art dealer friend, I couldn't help but be taken aback. What's going on? I thought you were only bringing the art dealer friend I asked for. Yeah, remember I said I had something to talk to you about that day? Well, actually, with a serious expression, Kevin shared another surprising fact to me. 2 months after Kevin's arrival, I received a furious call from Elaine and Ashley. Ready to settle things, I confronted them over a video call for the first time in 2 months. What do you think you're doing? Hooting F-Files overseas inheritance all to yourself, and selling off that inheritance without consulting us. Are you that desperate for money? It seemed they had somehow caught wind of the villa's story abroad. Disgusted by their blatant greed, I sighed and responded, "There's nothing arbitrary about it. That villa was in my name, and more importantly, you two were the ones who said I could do whatever I wanted with it. We meant you could do what you wanted with a rundown villa and the junk in it. We also have rights to inherit the antique art." Elaine argued over the phone, with Ashley could be heard in the background, noisily agreeing with her. Such typical nitpicking from them, I thought, sighing once more. In reality, Kevin's art dealer friend had appraised the art in the villa's basement and found that each piece was of high rarity and value. Essentially, they were now demanding a share of the treasure trove found in the villa's basement. But more importantly, Elaine, I heard from Kevin that you, Ashley, and Mom inherited $1.5 billion each from the $6 billion inheritance. Plus you got the family home. And you're still saying you need more money. Don't be ridiculous. I have various expenses, including Ashley's tuition, especially the maintenance costs for the house. Maintaining such a big house costs about $400,000 a month. And what about the remittances? It's been 2 months since the last one, and you haven't sent anything. The remittances. That was indeed another issue, I thought, as I responded to Elaine's brazen question. Why do I need to take care of you two from overseas? especially after being practically divorced and kicked out. And considering you already inherited 1.5 billion yen each. What? What are you talking about now? You're my father and mom's husband. Isn't it a parent's duty to provide for their child's education through college? Well, in a normal family, yes. But you, Elaine, and mom, without consulting me or Kevin, prepared the will, effectively divorcing and disowning me, and monopolized the inheritance. Besides, I took a breath here, revealing the first trump card. The villa you so eagerly passed on to me, given its severe dilapidation, is not usable, so I've decided to demolish it and sell just the land. The cleanup and demolition of that villa cost a significant amount. What? What are you doing? The inheritance tax was paid by Mill. Yes, but that was Dad's money. Shut up. You can't just do whatever you want without telling us or Mill. If you're going to monopolize it, then it's a lawsuit. We'll sue you. Elaine shrieked in a high-pitched voice, seemingly hitting a nerve with my statement. Even if we were to pursue such a lawsuit, there's hardly any chance of winning. According to Kevin, it seems that my mother, Elaine, and Ashley managed to squander most of their inherited 1.5 billion yen each in a month of extravagant living. Realizing that Kevin's family had left them due to their frivolous behavior, the trio panicked, especially since there was no one left to work and contribute financially. Moreover, they became even more desperate when they realized that my remittances had ceased for 2 months. In a hasty attempt to recover, they turned to investing, which spectacularly failed, leaving them with significant debts. Now, unable to afford Ashley's tuition, the maintenance of the family home, or even their living expenses, and burdened with debt repayments, they were on the brink of losing the house and facing financial ruin. The villa and its land were officially my property. Mother, Elaine, and Ashley had mistakenly thought the villa housed only junk, but since they had given me permission to do as I pleased with the antiques, I had no guilt in my actions. Still, Elaine and Ashley kept clamoring for money over the video call, so I decided it was time to reveal my next move. The reason I stopped the remittances isn't just that. I know about you, Elaine. You're in a relationship, right? With Ashley's real father. What? As I revealed this, Elaine's face contorted dramatically, and Ashley looked like a deer caught in headlights. Ashley, you're 18 now, so it's about time you were told the truth. You're not my child. You're the daughter of Elaine's ex-husband, her lover from an affair. What? Ashley reacted with a loud gasp of shock, her gaze shifting between confusion and suspicion as she glared at Elaine. Elaine looked flustered, her eyes darting between me and Ashley. Ashley wasn't a child born to Elaine and me, but Elaine's child from a previous relationship. I married Elaine 15 years ago when Ashley was just 3 years old. Elaine had told me that Ashley was her daughter with her ex-husband, whom she described as a terrible man. She claimed she had left him to protect Ashley. Being young back then, I sympathized with Elaine and Ashley, deciding to accept them as my family. Initially, I thought Ashley's unwillingness to open up to me was because we weren't blood-related, but I tried to accept her attitude, believing she was a child with a painful past. However, as Ashley grew up, her behavior towards me worsened, and Elaine, taking advantage of my leniency, also started to show her true colors more each day. Moreover, Elaine and Ashley became adept at ingratiating themselves with my mother, and not satisfied with just my earnings, they began to freely use the money from my family home as well. As I went on my overseas posting, you and Ashley started getting bolder, leading to the current mess. That's when Kevin did some digging. He found out you were secretly cozy with your ex-husband, Elaine, spending my money on him. He also discovered how you and Mom conspired to siphon off the inheritance. What? Kevin? Elaine and Ashley widened their eyes in shock at my words. Kevin had long harbored suspicions about the strained relationships within our family, and attempted to subtly inquire about it, only to be laughed off and misled by Elaine and Ashley. After much internal conflict and not wanting to break up the family, Kevin finally hired a private investigator on the day of the inheritance dispute. They revealed that Elaine's relationship with her ex-husband was still ongoing. They also uncovered that Elaine had been using me as a convenient ATM, planning to eventually discard me and introduce Ashley to her real father. Well, I've been thoroughly deceived. The story of how you and Ashley fled from your abusive ex-husband was all a tear-jerking lie, and you approached me because I was a man with good earnings, right? No, Keith, that wasn't my intention. It can't be true that I'm the daughter of her ex-husband. Unprepared for the revelation that her secret with her ex-husband, Ashley's real father, had been uncovered, Elaine started to panic. However, the one most shocked by this revelation was Ashley. Mom, is that why you never talked much about my dad? Telling me since I was little that this man was a good-for-nothing old fart, only useful for his money. Was that all for this reason? No, Ashley, that's not it. I didn't teach you those things just to use you. I did it thinking about you as a mother and as a woman. Thinking about me. Don't joke. If you really thought about me, why didn't you tell me about my real father? Why did you let me live this lie of a family life, only to leave me feeling so miserable? Miserable. I never thought it would turn out like this, and it's not all my fault. You're forgetting the favor of being raised and taken care of by me for 18 years. Despite my presence in the video call, Ashley and Elaine started a physical and ugly fight that went beyond verbal abuse. Watching their absurd display, I couldn't help but laugh. Even though I was deceived by their sob stories, I had spent money and time on these people. Thinking about it now, I found it more amusing than infuriating. But I had absolutely no intention of continuing to entertain this charade, so I quickly set out to resolve matters. Sorry to interrupt your little scene, but have you seen the divorce papers and demand for compensation I sent the other day? The divorce form is already filled out on my part, Elaine. You just need to sign it and submit it to the municipal office. Also, I've enclosed the business card of my lawyer, so any further communication should be done through them. What? Divorce papers? Compensation? Wait a minute. Are you saying you're divorcing Mom? What about the remittances? After receiving the infidelity information from Kevin, I had sent the divorce papers and the certified letter, but it seemed they either hadn't seen them or had chosen to ignore them. I thought about contacting my lawyer in Japan to handle it, while they were in a panic over the video call. That's none of my concern anymore. Once the divorce is settled, I have no intention of providing any further support or remittances. I refuse to waste any more money or time on you. But wait, why are you suddenly being so harsh? I'm going to college next year, and it's going to cost a lot. Uncle Kevin has left, and now you're abandoning us too. We're going to be completely stranded. That's right. We've been a family for 15 years. You have some responsibility here. It seems that the words reflection and apology are absent from their vocabulary. Continuing the conversation felt futile. It didn't even seem like speaking with rational people and was only worsening my mood. I left them with instructions to communicate through my lawyer, then ended the video call and promptly blocked their phone numbers and emails on my smartphone. My next step would be to find time to go to a mobile phone store overseas and plan to change my device. Afterward, I completed the divorce process through my lawyer in America without ever meeting Elaine and Ashley again. I also unhesitatingly filed for compensation against both Elaine's lover and her ex-husband, who were involved in the affair. Elaine, Ashley, and my mother ended up unable to pay the maintenance costs for the house and incurred more debt due to the compensation I demanded, resulting in them losing the house. Now, they apparently live in a shabby apartment in poverty. Elaine and my mother, shocked by the losing their home, refused to work and spend their days crying, while Ashley, who neither pursued further education nor employment, resents them, blaming them for her inability to study. They often quarrel so loudly that they receive complaints from neighbors. Although they were once my family, I couldn't help but feel embarrassed by their behavior, which had become a nuisance to others. Going back to Kevin and his family, it turns out that their move overseas was due to him accepting a transfer from his company. The opportunity arose when his wife and daughters, excited at the prospect of living abroad, eagerly insisted on going. Now, Kevin's family lives near my apartment, and they lead a fulfilling life, balancing work and personal time while maintaining a close relationship with me. Though I've lost my mother and my own family, I feel happy with my current life, thanks to the support of Kevin's family, who have been there for me, and my colleagues also on overseas posting. This network of support has been invaluable, giving me a newfound sense of family and community for which I am profoundly grateful.